It Takes Two, Muffin Time, and Wide Ocean, Big Jacket. This is Staying In.
I had an incredible bath experience the other day.
Oh, there was. Did you see in the news today? There was a story about baths. I'll knock it up while you're blathering on about whatever it was that you had in the bath. But apparently, this is just off the top of my head, and I'll get the proper facts later. But apparently, if you like sit in a bath for half an hour, it's the equivalent of going to the gym.
A bath of what?
As someone who very much enjoys a nice long bath, I think, a case study in that not being true.
Well, this is the thing. Like, it has, I think, from my limited knowledge, which I'm intending to improve quite quickly. I think it's the effect it has on your muscles rather than weight loss.
Yeah, I can attest to that, definitely. Although I have lived in a variety of places with different qualities of bath, some not having a bath whatsoever, others, it's so compact your legs are just poking out of every single possible way. But I've really upped the bath game now, gents. I've just sent you a little image. That is a projector that I borrowed, and I've rigged up a beautiful time-lapse starscape there. So picture this, right?
Chris Darby. Oh,
sat there, lights off, this projector, the starscape, on Spotify, the Floating Through Space playlist, keeping it on brand. And I was trying to capture, do you remember in that previous pod where I spoke about when I went into that flotation tank?
Yeah.
I've realised every time I've gotten into a bath or any body of water since then, I've tried to recreate that moment. And I've realised as I've gotten older, I'm putting a lot more effort into the prep for a bath beyond just running the tap, making sure the plug's in and making sure the water's not too hot. It's like I've dabbled in candles. My sister, who constantly gets given bath gifts for birthdays or Christmas, she just can't stand baths, so I get them all every time I see her. So I've got a backlog of all these various different fizzy bath bombs and shower creams and all of this jazz. So I'm just trying to get through them, really. And I found that I've really started to kind of curate the bath experience a little bit more.
That sounds good. Well, you can make it even better. So I've looked into a bit of this research that was released this morning. So a hot bath can bring about certain benefits similar to those of aerobic exercise. Also, it's thought to be an antidepressant too, and can shown as to decrease the risk of dementia as well. The caveat here, Chris, unfortunately, is that the the author's study recommends sitting up to your shoulders in a hot tub that is heated to approximately 40 degrees centigrade for an hour.
I mean, there are two problems with me with that.
What? You're too short and you don't like heat?
No, my bath is too short. And yeah, I don't like heat. You're absolutely right, Sam. Like, on those rare occasions where I've been to a spa, a sauna, and a steam room, oh my gosh. They're great for a short period, but like I do start to wobble a bit.
Oh no, I love being in a sauna or a steam room. I especially like steam rooms, I've got to be honest, and just sit in there for 45 minutes and just
45 minutes?
all come out. Oh yeah, and you just feel so sleepy and like feeling great about the whole experience. Like you just feel like your pores opening up, everything just going out onto you, and drinking water just to keep replenishing it. Oh my god! I think in a previous life I was like a toad in a jungle.
Yeah, or a tea bag. I mean, that's incredible.
I was actually in a hot tub the other day.
Oh my gosh!
Because I was on holiday. I've taken a holiday, everyone.
Oh my word!
How dare you?
I know it was so good. I mean, we only went to Yorkshire, but
What a lovely area.
even saying that, we went to a wonderful part of the world where they filmed The Railway Children. which immediately has sparked so much delight and recognition.
I mean, Jenny, I just picture the kids on the fence waving. That's all I remember of that film.
It's the only period in my life that I've got slightly excited at trains, because where we were staying, we looked out on the hill, and at the weekends they actually have an old steam train that does like this loop around Yorkshire, and you can see it going off, and you see everyone's like standing on the hills or going down to the train stations, like to go and see the steam train, and you can hear the little toot toot, and even though my little son is slightly obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine, he didn't care one jot about it, but I was like sitting there, I had the timetable, I had the I had the train timetable open on my phone,
and you ran around.
And I was standing by the wall, looking at the tunnel, waiting for the train to come out, and everyone was just like, "Sam, we're gonna be playing some games. Yeah, the train will be here in 10 minutes. Don't worry." Like 30 minutes later, it's here.
Amazing. My sister took my nephew to the train station, funnily enough, the other day to see a steam engine, because as kids growing up, there's this particular train station, Arley, which we'd go to. And as a child, I was obsessed with steam engines, like a lot of kids are, like Thomas the Tank Engine and things. And it's quite a lovely image. We've got this lovely image of my nephew perplexed by this steam engine as it's kind of hoving into view. And I sent my sister a text message, and I think I might have been with you at the time, Sam, actually, saying, "Oh, I bet you're having a really lovely time. It's a really special moment for, my nephew seeing a steam engine." And my sister said, "Yes, it was, until the whistle blew, and suddenly 8 days worth of crap that my nephew had been holding in just decided to expel itself at that moment."
I don't think it was. I think there's a direct correlation. It wasn't. I don't think it was coincidence, Chris. Oh, God.
Toot.
8 days.
Wow.
And bless him, my sister's partner's like, "We need to get him changed." And Holly's like, "No, a bit like you, Sam. No, the train's just here. We need him to see the train."
Savor the train.
Damn the consequences.
You don't realise we'll all be electric and floating in Elon Musk's worm tunnel by the time the kids are all...
My least favourite prog rock band, that Elon Musk's worm tunnel.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage.
So how is Yorkshire? Because obviously being UK based and being sort of the way that the world is at the moment, I think a lot of holidays are going to be very much based in Britain, I think, for the next year or so, I would say, like, generally. And, like, I think this is what a lovely opportunity, silver linings, to go and see different parts of the UK, Wales and Scotland, Northern Ireland, going to see, like, bits of England that you've not seen before. What's Yorkshire like? Would you recommend it?
Of course I would. Yorkshire's beautiful. I would have recommended it before the times.
Yeah.
It was extremely hilly.
Yeah.
Extremely hilly.
Famous for it.
Yeah. But exceptionally beautiful, and the people were absolutely lovely. I think mainly because they were just happy to have other people around.
Yeah.
We stayed near this little village called Haworth, and it's got this very famous like cobblestoned high street, and it's even got a shop that sells nothing but sweets and jigsaws. So it's that kind of place. It was terribly idyllic,
quaint.
Yeah, it was quaint, and also they were filming the new Railway Children whilst we were there.
Oh my gosh!
So it was all very thrilling and exciting.
Is that what it's called?
I think it's called The Return of the Railway Children.
Who are these Railway Children, and why do we care about what they do?
The Railway Children fight back.
Yeah.
Railway Children to Electric Tootaloo.
Obviously, the biggest delight was that a few of us were able to actually go away in the family for like the first time in a while. So it was really good to actually like play games that catered for more than 3 people. Because we just haven't done that in ages, and like I took an embarrassing load of games with me just because I was just terribly excited of like, there are people now, there's an audience, and it was an absolute joy, and we got to play a couple of things that we haven't played before. Like we played a game called Masterword, which is from Scorpion Masque, which I realise I've been pronouncing wrong for a long time. The same publisher that made Stay Cool and Decrypto. So we've spoken about a bit of their stuff before, but this is new, and this is like, it's a word game, and I've been sort of anchoring to play this for a while with a big group, and I think it's something that hopefully we're going to be getting together for the UK Board Games Expo later on this month, and it's something that I might bring down with me, because I think it could be, for that weekend, be a quite interesting experience, and I'll explain why in a second. But how Masterword works is essentially you have someone who holds the master word. So you'll pick a card from this deck, and it'll give you a category like animal, and then you will see what animal that is. So say, for example, fish, and then that's it. And then everyone else who's playing then has to try and guess what the master word is. And it's quite nice to play a game like this, a deduction game where it's cooperative. So a bit like something like Mysterium, where you're all kind of working together to try and get to the same goal. But unlike Mysterium, I think Masterword feels a lot more collaborative in that respect. So what everyone else does is they have these little dry wipe pieces of card and a little pen, and they write on it something like, lives in jungle, or a carnivore, or eat on a Friday, and then they put all that underneath where the master worder sits, and then they basically will put down at the edge, at the side of that line, a number of tokens depending on how many of those things correlate with what the actual thing or word is. So for example, from that example, probably just one. I don't think fish are carnivores, are they?
Some of them are.
Piranhas.
Have you seen the Meg?
Oh, right, okay. Fair point, Chris. And then, basically, then they go again. So based on knowing that, right, there are 2 things in those 3 things that are related to what this thing is. So let's try and deduce from that what possibly this word could be. So it's a bit like Mastermind.
Yeah.
All those word puzzles where it's just like 3 of these letters are correct, 2 of them aren't. Carry on going until you manage to figure out what the word is. And it was, I think deduction games always get a bit of a binary response, especially in my family. I think they definitely have a bit of a hard time in my family. But I think what Masterword does, which is really, really interesting, and I think gives it a bit of longevity and makes me want to take it away for a weekend with the same group of people, is essentially it has a legacy deck. So the deck of cards that you get that provide the categories and the words are numbered 1 to 300, and they get progressively more difficult. So the idea of the game essentially is what it feels like anyway, is for you to be sitting there and playing it with the same group of people.
Very clever.
And I just really liked that idea of like this deduction game where you're essentially going to be going on this legacy campaign experience with a group of people, developing your own strategies, developing your own sort of like language and grammar, trying to complete things in the fastest time. I think that's a really that's a really compelling prospect for a game like this to get to the table. However, though, there was one game that was the star of the week that we were away, and we've all played Flux, haven't we?
Yeah, I love Flux.
Yeah.
I genuinely do. I know. Me and Pete, chalk and cheese. But there are those card games that I will always return to, and I think it's just... I like the expansion and compression of that game, where you'll suddenly go from having loads of different rules on the table to having very little, like just one rule on the table. And I like the unpredictability of that. I really, really do.
So Flux is a really unpredictable game where essentially the rules of how the game plays changes pretty much every time someone puts a card down. And we play a game from Big Potato, which is very much like that. It's called Muffin Time. Now, if you're young enough, you might know, and I'm going to... Is it asdfmovie or asdfmovie?
What?
ASDF?
What words are you using?
ASDF.
Yeah.
Then movie. So this is an online animation.
Yeah.
By Thomas Ridgewell.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I recognise it.
Well, describe it. What's in the movie?
What?
It's a bit like Magical Trevor.
Oh, everyone loves Magical Trevor. The tricks that he does are ever so clever.
It was that E-Baum's World era
Yes.
of like, hey, let's have flash animations.
So early 2000s.
So this is an incredibly popular web series. I mean, this was launched on Kickstarter originally and had like 25,000 backers, which for a Kickstarter board game is quite a lot. I think it raised over £1 million. And it is a game a lot like Flux. Like the aim of the game is you just got to start your next turn with 10 cards in your hand, and that's it. You draw a card and you put down a card and you play a card each turn. But what I think it has over Flux is, and even though we had games that ranged from 20 minutes to, I genuinely believe there's a game still going on because we never finished it past the sort of like 2-3 hour mark. Is that it has got a genuinely really interesting set of mechanics that really basically mean that it creates this wonderful atmosphere of no one knows what's going to happen next. So in the game Muffin Time, it's very, very self-referential, and you'll be doing things like you'll put a card down and it'll be like, oh, the person who's not wearing glasses, anyone who's not wearing glasses loses 5 cards. Or it'll be like you'll put down a card and it's like, everyone stand up. The last person standing loses 5 cards. Or it'll be like mini game, arm wrestle or thumb wrestle someone. The winner gets 5 cards. And I think it just little things like that have this really like underlying dynamic to the play. But the actual genius of the game is these things called trap cards. And these are cards that you put in front of you, and basically they'll have a statement on it or a criteria. And at any point during the game, when anyone meets these criteria, you can spring the trap and it unleashes the thing that, whatever it unleashes. And Muffin Time probably has to be one of the only games I've played that has managed to anticipate every single social convention that went around our table, and I'm quite hesitant to like say a lot of what the trap cards are, because the beauty is that you turn over a card and went, no, they didn't. No, how could they? Like, it's stuff like someone sings a song, they lose 10 cards, or someone searches for something on the internet, they lose cards. Someone looks up something in the rules, they lose cards.
That's great.
So my wife was just like, oh, Sam, are you sure that you can't play 2 of these cards at once? And I was like, well, actually unfolds rules. And then she slaps down a trap card and just like, yeah, I've been planning that for a while. Brilliant. It's a bit like Don't Get Got, another Big Potato game, where you've got this overlying sort of very easy, very simple sort of gotcha game where the rules and the boundaries are changing all the time, but underneath it, you have this wonderful game of like subterfuge where everyone's trying to trick everyone else into revealing these trap cards. And I think two more things. There's one where my mother-in-law stuck a card to her head, and the trap card is, if anyone doesn't say anything about this trap card, then you will lose cards. So we were like on the game, and we were like, shh, it's blatantly going to be like, yeah. It's blatantly going to be like, if we say anything about that, we're going to lose cards. And so she was like really, really smug when she put it on. There's also a card in there that does the opposite. So if you put it on and you do mention it, you lose cards. So it's really reactive in that way. And I think the one brilliant bit of the game in it, which showed how much of a success it was, it comes with 3 blank cards, one for each basically type of action. So there's like the action cards, the trap cards, and there's these counter cards, and they're blank ones. So the idea that the game sort of says is that you can make these what you want. We didn't know this when we played it for the first time. We just had them randomly shuffled into the deck. And my father-in-law had a blank counter card. Now the counter cards work a bit like sort of block cards. So if someone tries to do so, like in Exploding Kittens, there's these cards that someone tries to do something, and you say, "No, I'm not having that." So that's what the counter cards do. So he was sitting there with a counter card the whole game, and it was just blank. There was just nothing on it, and he had to reveal his hand for something, and we were just like, "What are you doing? That's a blank card." He goes, "No, it's not. That means I can block anything." And so then immediately we got a biro out, and we just wrote on it. We just wrote on it in quotation marks, "This card blocks everything," and that was
that's brilliant.
And that suddenly became that card. And then what Muffin Time ended up doing, when we finished playing a couple of games, we all sat round with these blank cards, and then we had so much fun thinking of like how we could change the game. Like we were getting a bit annoyed by the fact that, it takes ages to get to 10 cards, and then like someone gets there and someone robs all your hands, and it's like really frustrating. So we actually developed cards as a group, like a very small mini game jam, into how we could like, well, why don't we have a card where if you have 0 cards by the start of your next turn, you win the game, and have that as like a winning condition. And it was surprisingly, based on an animation series that I've no particular interest in, based on a game which I loved to begin with, but certainly lost its sort of flavour very early on in Flux. Muffin Time became kind of like, when we sat around the table, everyone was just like, right, let's play Muffin Time, which is a massive step up from let's play Cards Against Humanity. And so I was very, 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 very happy.
The question I got asked, Sam, is, and you've kind of preempted some of that really, is that like the thing about this is I imagine it's a game that you deliberately play once in a blue moon, where enough time has passed where you forget some of those trap words, say, for example. Is that correct? Or are there, for every card that's put down, there's an opposite card, so you're never quite sure? The example you gave about the mother-in-law with the card on her forehead, you're not. Are most cards having that kind of dual purpose, or
I don't know. There's about 150 cards in the deck. We did the first playthrough is quite magical. Like it is like that surprise, that shock, that feeling of that it's anticipated every turn, that you're doing all these like little mini games, like who can hold their breath for longest around the table. Like it feels like it's more than a card game. It's like, it's a party starter. It's not just, where Flux, where you like put a card down and everyone like leans over, and like every one of us, every time we were just sitting there smug with a great action card to play or a trap card waiting to go there. Like everyone was just itching to play their turn. However, the second and third games, though they were still fun, a lot of the surprise and that element of the new had dissipated. There are 2 expansions that you can get, which I think I am going to buy just to bring some freshness in, and they also come with blank cards as well, each expansion. So I feel like I'm sort of, I think like if Muffin Time sounds like the game for you, like I would play it once and then I'd really hold off the temptation to play it again, because I feel like the more that you can withhold and like just keep the secrets within the box, like the better the game is long term.
Which, funnily enough, reminds me quite a bit of Cards Against Humanity, of the more you play it, the more that, you know, humour aside, like the joy of that game is the like shock, like it is the surprise.
I can't believe it said that.
I can't believe exactly that. And it's funny that's a game that you play it for a couple of hours and you're just like, by the end of it you're like, yeah, all right, yeah, okay, that's funny. And the more you play that game, that happens a lot. But then these are party games, right? Like they should be, to some degree, they are like events, if you know what I mean. Like they are things that are only come out once in a while. They're not a thing that you're gonna, you know, you're not gonna play that every single night because it isn't designed for it.
No, my father-in-law really railed against it for a long time, but he went from like absolutely loving it to absolutely hating it, like nearly every single round.
Perfect.
And it was really great to see, because he'd be sitting there one minute going, this is rubbish, what is this game, there's no strategy, this is absolutely, this is absolute pants, I'm not playing this is rubbish. And then the next minute you turn around and he'd be sitting there with a great big grin on his face with some cards in front of him. And like when we played it for another time, there's a card in it where he put it down and just stood up and walked away, and we all looked up and read it and went, action card. You may end your turn and leave the game if you so wish. He just went, he just like cracked open a beer and went to go and watch.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
What have I done now?
You've sent me a lovely gift for myself and Alex to enjoy together.
I did. Mm-hmm.
It's called It Takes Two.
It is.
I find as I get older and have more time in the business that I'm in, that I have
the business that we call show.
The we call show. As it's funny, as you go more into working in the games industry, you often end up playing less games.
Yeah.
And I don't think playing less games is a thing that I've done because of being in the games industry. But I tell you what, I definitely have not been doing a whole lot of, and that is keeping an eye on the websites that I used to frequent like every single day, and I just haven't been keeping up to date with like the hot new game. And I just keep hearing about It Takes Two. Like, I just keep hearing about it. People being like, gotta play it. It's amazing. Really good fun. Really inventive. Like, it's that and the game Outriders. Like, you know, I think we talked about, like, a couple of episodes back, but, like, just that thing of, like, I just didn't know these were things that were coming out. Just you know, brand new, huge, really exciting things.
The zeitgeist is really just passing you by, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's bonkers as well, because this is an EA game. This isn't even just like some weird teensy weeny, like, you know, indie game that no one cares about that's on itch.io. But like, this is like from Hazelight, right? Which is the people who did, I want to say, Brothers?
So a few of them did Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, and then they formed the studio Hazelight and did A Way Out, which Dan and I are actually nearly finishing. I've played it with each and every one of you.
Yeah.
And Dan and
Who's
I
the best?
Nearly finishing.
Yeah, who's the best, Chris?
It's really interesting, and this is indicative of Hazelight games. Every time I play that game, I discover something new in it, and I think It Takes Two is another example of this.
Well, that's a elegant dodge.
Yeah. Diplomatic answer. Yes, I all love you all equally. Some more than others, and it's like a, and again it's a game that is just bonkers. So Sam and I first played this together. And I'm not going to bury the lead here, but there are times where I said to Sam, we should talk about this on the pod next week. And Sam was like, hang on, just wait. We play it again. Actually, no, whoa, I'm really glad we held off. I'm definitely going to talk about it next week. And Sam's like, hang on, just wait. And honestly, it is one of the most extraordinary co-op experiences. I don't think I've had a co-op experience like this. And I was saying to Sam, between me and him, the last time we had an experience like this, where we'd kind of felt we'd gone on this journey together, and we'd learnt a lot about each other and had really felt that this was cooperative in the truest sense, was probably when we played Journey together. And that was a long time ago, for me personally. So Hazelight have started to now cultivate this reputation of being like the go-to people for kind of co-op stuff. A Way Out, it is a little bit shonky in places, mainly with regards to its narrative, which is a little bit laughable, which I do adore, genuinely adore. It has that kind of cliched 80s buddy action narrative.
I think it knows it's cliched, though.
That's the thing. I can't work it out. It's either so on the nose it's brilliant, or it's tosh.
Yeah.
It's one of the two things. It's either brilliantly written or super badly written.
But the rhythm of it I've always found so fascinating. Like, there's a sequence in A Way Out where you've just, spoilers, you break out of prison and you find your way into this couple's home and you're borrowing their clothing. You've kept them locked up there.
Oh, that's so
good.
But
But the game gives you the opportunity to play that horseshoe throwing game. This isn't the time to kind of dilly-dally. The police are going to be there any moment. But the game thinks, actually, maybe you might quite like this. Play a game of this. Dan and I last night were in a hospital sequence where we took a little bit of time out to compete with each other to see who could balance the longest on a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And the game just gives it, it's bonkers. And It Takes Two takes this even further. So this is a full 16 to 20 hour game, 2-player. Mm-hmm. So Sam and I played this online. And again, nice little touch. Only one of us needed to pay for the game.
Mm-hmm. How do you mean?
So Sam bought the game. We actually split it between us. But anyone can just download the demo version. And as long as they've got a pal who owns the game, they can play with them, the full game.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, there's a few companies that do this now. And I think that's amazing.
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. So a slightly different kind of theme. So what you have here is that you play as the characters Cody and May, whose marriage is a little bit on the rocks at the moment. And
understatement.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a debate even at the end of the game whether they should still be married.
Oh gosh,
or
no!
not.
I have so many issues with this. And they have a daughter, Rose, who, and I mean this with the greatest will in the world, daughter who is one of the scariest gaming characters I've ever seen. Just this very deadpan, almost slightly cold delivery of, okay, oh well, and I will go off and play. And it's just like, oh. And she builds, and but underneath this, there's this kind of sadness, really, because she's built these little dolls of her parents, and through this kind of play acting, kind of almost narrative therapy, she's acting out a scenario where it's a happy, loving family once again. And some kind of weird, kind of classic, kind of Disney magic occurs where the parents wake up and, oh no, they're in the bodies of these dolls. And they go on this epic journey to try and make their way out of this conundrum they've got themselves into. Meanwhile, their daughter is just completely oblivious to their mum and dad, comatose for like 16 to 20 hours on the sofa. They're just going, oh, okay. And the what gives this kind of quest a little bit of a structure is, oh God, one of the most, I'm not even going to say divisive. Every review I've seen of this game just really doesn't like this character, Dr. Hakim, who is a book who strangely with a mustache and strange arms.
Have you seen the film The Page Master?
Yes, a very good example. Yeah, very good touchstone there. Yeah. And he is it's a relationship therapy book, and he takes you through the different stages of, it's basically marriage counselling, the video game.
See, this is one thing that kind of concerns. So I've heard about this game. I've not played it, and I am very tempted to try and see if my wife will play as well, because I think it would be a great cooperative experience.
You would love it.
But I'm just trying to judge how you approach. Let's play this game, all about kind of relationship counselling and stuff like that, without her getting the wrong idea.
Can I'll field this question, Chris. Because within the first 5 minutes, you'll realise in the shockingly written dialogue and the absolutely atrocious acting and storyline that these are possibly two people who should just not be together, and it's quite reassuring to be like, yeah, we're not like that. We're cool.
Yeah. No, this is different to, say, Fog of Love, the board game, which is a game about couples, but apparently a lot of people say couples wouldn't really enjoy playing it. But this is completely different. It's not going to be asking you questions and you have to fill in the gaps. And it's not about knowing your partner. Actually, what's really interesting about it is it uses that conceit to engage with cooperative gameplay. So you have this kind of pattern in which you work your way through different sections. You then encounter the book, you learn a lesson, and I was rewatching a review today about this, and they say, they put it very succinctly that actually you see this character, Dr. Hakim, the book, you get irritated by him, but also you're quite happy because it means then you're about to get a new mechanic as as your cooperative pair. And what I really, really love is that rather than getting that building up of skills and mechanics, what happens is you just have a particular mechanic your character has, and it's different so Cody and May have different play styles, different gameplay mechanics that complement each other. So straight away, I'm playing this going, I want to play as Cody next time. A bit like with A Way Out. I want to play as Leo next time. And what I love is that once you finish that section, you don't have to remember that mechanic anymore. Something new will come and take its place. So to give you an example, you start off in the shed of the house, because this takes place as miniature dolls in and around the house. But it feels epic and grandiose. You've got these beautiful, same sweeping vistas. It just so happens you're seeing it from a micro perspective. So
basically like the borrowers.
Yeah, basically the borrowers, yeah. So in the shed, for example, one of the characters has a nail gun, the other has a hammer. You can kind of already see possible puzzles that can be solved there. Yeah. In another instance, when we're in the tree, one of you has a sap gun, and for some strange reason, that sap is flammable. It's okay, because the other character has a rocket launcher. And then you get another instance where, and I think the one that is doing the rounds that's talked about the most as being not only a really cool mechanic, but thematically plays into it, is the magnets. There's a section where you play two opposing parts of the magnets, opposingly charged. And, okay, I can kind of see stories there. But honestly, just the genres this game tackles. I don't want to spoil it all.
No, I feel like we spoiled enough, but Pete, if I was to tell you and Dan that when you play It Takes Two, you will probably encounter something from a game that you've liked in the last 10 years. I mean,
honestly, how do you? There were moments where I was saying to Sam, did this actually happen? Am I actually looking at what you're looking at here?
We played this mainly at night before we went to bed, and every single time I had a dream about playing It Takes Two.
Okay.
And I'd wake up and I would genuinely not know what was the dream and what me and Chris had just played, because this game is majestically, brilliantly, perfectly bonkers. The story aside, which is really not Hazelight's forte, the narrative, the questionable accents, when you're the moment to moment gameplay might actually be some of the best, if not the best, cooperative gameplay I have ever played.
Agreed.
And I don't want to sound too hyperbolic about this, but if you have a partner or a friend that you can play games with, then It Takes Two is the must buy.
Yeah.
You will genuinely be sitting there going, I can't believe this is happening. And not only does it genre swap, not only does it mechanical blend, not only does it, balance everything that's going on so superbly, but every single genre and every single mechanic that it dabbles in does it perfectly.
Yeah.
Does it absolutely how you would expect it to, and it feels the moment to moment gameplay just feels absolutely pitch perfect. And me and Chris just could not, we had to, and again, this is going to sound really hyperbolic and overblown, but we genuinely had to go, we've got to stop playing this game, because the pacing was such that we'd have a blast doing something, then it'd be suddenly open a door and here's the next wonderful thing behind it, children. And it was just Chris, I can't walk through that door, because if I do, we are here for another couple of hours and it's already 2 o'clock in the morning and we have to stop. And I think that is the best testament I can give to this game, that it just I don't know how they've done it, but I said to Chris while we were playing, I said, it's like they've gone around the studio and gone, hey, what do you like? Yeah, it's going in. Have you seen that? Dan will know what I'm talking about. There's a Keenan and not Keenan and Kel. There's a
Orange soda, yeah.
There's a
Keenan and Kel.
Key and Peele. There's a Key and Peele sketch where it's like this. It's set in a Hollywood 80s movie office. And a guy comes in and pitches Gremlins 2, and it's basically like, yeah, it's going in the movie, it's going, and everything he says, no matter how audacious, and it's like all real stuff that happens in Gremlins 2, like he says, yeah, it's going in the movie, and he's like, really, what, even that? It's like, yeah, going in the movie, and it's like it Takes Two generally feels like, oh, what was your favourite game going up? All right, oh yeah. It's going in.
One thing I should say as well, and I think Pete, you'd really enjoy this. It has got probably some of the most darkly comic boss fights.
It's got body horror.
Yeah, honestly, and we were not expecting that. Given the light-hearted nature, I mean, the fact is, you're playing with dolls, and it is really cute and cuddly and innocent. But there are some moments that just completely take you unawares. Honestly, and just you don't know whether to laugh or be horrified.
Because it's like me and Chris would turn to each other and go, I can't believe we did that. And then we turn to each other and go, I can't believe we did that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I would really love to just be there to watch you witness those moments.
Me too.
Like Dan, I would love to play this with you. I'd like. It's testament again, a bit like A Way Out. As soon as I played A Way Out, it wasn't that, okay, I'm done with that, I don't ever want to play it again. I've played that game 3 times, and I'd happily do that again with It Takes Two. Honestly, you always feel useful, and I never get tired of those conversations of, oh yeah, you go over there, and if you do that, that means I can do this, and you always feel useful. And again, they've really sewn up the market, Hazelight, as being the go-to company for these kinds of experiences, and I cannot wait for what they do next, because I don't know how they could top this other than narrative.
Other than a better story. You know those things that you watch and you listen to, or you read, or you play, and you finish them, and you hear someone else is going to play it, or watch it, or read it. And your first thought is, the first thing you say to them is, I'm so jealous you get to experience that for the first time again.
That discovery, that feeling of discovery.
Like, the reason why I posted our copy to you and Pete, Alex, and the reason why I think, Dan, you should play this with Holly, is that I would be sitting there basically just like, you're not going to believe... we're not going to believe what happens next. Like, I would just generally wouldn't be able to contain myself with like the amount of sheer joy and shock in equal measure that you would experience playing this game.
It's interesting that one of the things that I've kind of learned from doing this stuff recently, and over the last year or so, last couple of years, I suppose, is how much I really value like good storytelling. It was really interesting that you were talking about, It Takes Two and A Way Out and stuff like that, and these huge budget games and these things that are with, EA and stuff like that. And they have these budgets, and yet still the storytelling is like, or worse than, like bad, actively bad at times. And I've really noticed recently a lot in games where the story has just like really not grabbed me, or it's been like, oh, this is a real clunker. A friend of mine at work, Matt, put me onto a game called Wide Ocean Big Jacket, and didn't really tell me much about it. And just said, you just got to go and play it for the story. All right. And it is one of these games that is on itch.io and looks like it's on itch.io. Itch.io has this kind of like indie look to the whole thing, where you're like, this is super, super indie and kitschy, and I'm sure it's fun, but it just doesn't, it feels a bit, that whole platform just feels really, really, it sounds really mean to say it, but like really rough and ready at times.
Charming.
It has a charm of its own. I wouldn't necessarily say it's charming. But this game is it goes beyond that, and it goes into a realm of games that I think is way more important. It goes into the realm of games like The Graveyard, for example, and it goes into realm of games like Journey, and these kinds of games that are definitely a pure artistic experience, and unabashedly so, and is trying very, very focused on a small number of things, trying to get them done really well in a really meaningful, emotionally affecting way. This is by Turnfollow, and I'd not really heard of them before, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't know if it's done particularly well. It doesn't seem to have had too many reviews on Steam, and that's usually a good indicator of how well it's done. Maybe it's done okay. It's on Steam, it's on Switch, it's on itch. And it's an hour. I think it's about an hour long.
Yeah, no longer than that.
No longer than that. And it is about a family of sorts, an extended family of sorts, but just four people, and they go on a camping trip, and it takes place over a small number of days, and it features an uncle and an aunt, and Maud, who is this probably the daughter everyone wants. Like she is like super knows what she wants and is very speaks her mind. Very, very cool character. And someone called Ben, who is her boyfriend of sorts. And he's very, very shy and reserved, and clearly is a bit of a weird kid. Uncle Brad is kind of cool. He's the uncle that you remember and think, oh yeah, he was really cool when I was growing up. And Cloanne, who's the aunt, she's really cool as well. Like, she smokes cigarettes and they both drink beers, and and like the game is kind of has this really neat flat shaded 2D art style that is 2D flat shaded but 3D art style. It's kind of a walking sim.
Yeah, that's what struck me about it when I looked at trailers of it.
It's kind of a walking sim. The amount of interactions that you have is really, really limited. It's mostly like pressing a single button to interact with something, but you can move around the space. But the thing that I love about it is how efficient it is. So it doesn't waste any single moment of your time. It is an hour long, and it does not outstay its welcome. It is a perfectly timed video game. It has just enough mechanics to last an hour. It has just enough of a story and character development to last that hour and make that effective, like emotionally effective, right? Like, it tries to tell a small, condensed story about a girl and a boy who are kind of figuring out how the world works around them. It's a bit of a coming of age, a mini coming of age thing. And then an uncle and an aunt who they have their own relation. They have this relationship, and there is an aspect of their relationship that they don't quite agree on. And that's all the game is interested in telling. That's all the story it's interested in telling. There's a bit where you can watch some birds. There's a bit where you meet some mean kids. There's a bit where you have to put a tent up. But all of these things are really simple interactions, and it moves the story forward. It is all just the phrase I want to use is directed. It feels like a movie in so much as it cuts when it doesn't need. You don't need to be walking 2 miles in a big open world to get from here to here. They just give you a vignette, and they say, this is all you need to see of this scene. Have the conversation. This moves forward. Okay, next scene, next day. It's yeah.
I think that this game, that economy of storytelling is
remarkable.
Is absolutely like the game's forte. Yeah. Especially when compared to a game that I think some of us are playing at the minute, which is Call of the Sea.
Yeah.
And I've actually written down the opening bit of dialogue from Call of the Sea to give an example of like when this is done really badly and what and what Wide Ocean Big Jacket does really well. So in Call of the Sea, the main protagonist wakes up and goes, my horrible dreams again. I've had them repeatedly ever since Mother died and left me that music box in her will. And it's like...
That's an exposition.
All right.
And it's like there is so much of that information that could have been done from, like, the character has a journal, for example, and there's lots of like environmental exploration that's encouraged as part of that game. There's so much of that dialogue and that information that could have been done, without that character saying a word. She could have just said, that dream again, and then left you your own devices. Wide Ocean Big Jacket is kind of like the perfect example of like how to do video game dialogue to make it sound natural and to make it sound it's not like leading the player or telling the player where to go or how to feel or what to do.
Yeah, and I think the thing that this game surfaces is this idea of not wasting the player's time. And like to me,
I knew this is something you'd fixate on, Pete.
I loved it. Yeah. I loved it because I know I've talked about this a lot, and yeah, sure. If I was 14 or something like that, I'd be furious if a game was 45 minutes long because I want a game that is 100 hours and I can replay it 3 times, and because that's my game for the year, right? But as somebody with some disposable income, and not a lot of time, what I want is a cool new experience. Like, I want novelty to some degree. Like, I want to see something new, and I want to have my time respected. And I feel like Wide Ocean Big Jacket does that by essentially doing a what's that indie movie, and there's like a beauty pageant and they drive
Little Miss
around.
Sunshine, one of my favourite
Little Miss
films.
Sunshine. Like, it feels a little bit like that, in that, like, it has that kind of indie spirit about it, and it is trying to tell this very condensed story with these very definitive characters, but it doesn't do that game, that really tedious game thing of like, this is only an hour long. People are going to be furious about this. Well, let's make it so that you walk for 25 minutes to get from point A to point B.
You have to go and collect some shells.
Right, yeah,
Oh,
and it doesn't. That stuff never, ever, ever is actually valuable as a player. I'm like, I don't want to do any of this. Whereas Wide Ocean Big Jacket is like, here are some very simple mechanics. Here's a very simple story. We're just going to tell it beautifully. And we're going to, at the end of that, you're going to be like, God, I want to play another one of these. I can't wait for the next one.
Drum roll.
Yeah, drum roll, please.
Let's make someone's dreams come true.
What's that from?
I just made it up.
Oh, wow. Just like that.
To be fair, that does sound like an early 90s...
like Des O'Connor show.
Des O'Connor or Brian Connolly hosted, like, let's make somebody's dreams
somebody's dreams come true.
Come on
it's
down.
definitely hosted by one of like a variety entertainer who sings and dances.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we're going to give away... We did a competition last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Last time.
We did.
And it was... What was it for?
We imagined a timeline where we got given a copy of Forks in the Timeline.
Nice. On brand.
To give away to someone who followed all the rules.
Yeah. And there were loads of rules.
And there were loads of rules on the Instagram post I put up.
Mm-hmm.
And I am ready to pick a winner from that pile. I've got a little hat.
Mm-hmm.
I've put all the names in the hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm going to pick a winner. Is that okay with everybody?
Please do. Next time I'd like us to use a tombola, but yeah, let's go.
Okay. What are you going to do whilst I pick?
Pete's going to make up the rest of the jingle.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm going to come up with the rest of the lyrics. Basically.
Jerry's always wanted to run his own pub for the weekend.
And this time you can win this beautiful Zanussi washing machine.
Yeah, but I always thought that Make Their Dreams Come True isn't about winning stuff. It's about helping people realise their lifelong ambitions. Like, John's always wanted to drive a steam train in Haworth.
Right, okay, yeah.
And then it's cut to like John looking really happy
Yeah,
tooting while a baby shits in the corner.
Barry's always wanted to highly embarrass himself on a quiz show on national television.
Anyway, so I'm going to pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick. Okay.
Good Foley.
Thanks. And it is ink and celluloid.
Who?
Ink and celluloid. Ink and celluloid.
Well,
Congratulations to you.
Both of you.
I will be getting in touch shortly to arrange a receipt of said game. But congratulations. Thank you to everyone who entered the competition. Hopefully you'll stick around to see all the great stuff that we do put on Instagram. I do quite like our Instagram page. I feel
I think it's our best one. I'll be honest with you. I think
our best Instagram page.
It's definitely the best, because you get to see nice pictures of things, and then me talking about hardcore 1970s battle games.
That's true.
So that's nice. That's a nice mix.
Yeah, and me making weird stop motion animation of games.
That was fun.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep. No. Well, nice one. Well done. Thank you very much to everybody for entering, and we'll bring you another competition. I don't know, some point, maybe.
About 2 years?
Yeah. Another competition in a couple of years.
Just imagine the jingle for that one.
Let's make some dreams come true.
Yeah, I don't think producers would take much of a gamble on a quiz show that does one episode every 2 years.
Yeah, but those dreams, you know.
Yeah.
Suzanne's always wanted to work on an A&E ward.
Francesco's always wanted to own a bouncy castle, and today we're going to find out if he can make that dream come true. Making dreams come true.
I came here with nothing. I've had a lovely day. Everyone's been really nice to me.
Dear.
Well, what a way to end the show, making someone's dreams come true. Specifically, Ink and Celluloid's dream to own a copy of Forks in the Timeline. I will be getting in touch very shortly with you to arrange packaging and delivery and all that kind of stuff. So just hold on tight. If I haven't been in touch with you yet, I will be shortly. Anyway, thanks for listening to this show. On it were Peter Willington, Daniel Frost, Chris Darby, and myself, Sam Turner. Please share the show and what you love about it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, anyone you think might be interested in just hearing us talk about board games, video games, films and movies and all that kind of stuff. The stuff that we like to do when we're just enjoying each other's company. Hopefully, now that things are sort of opening up a little bit now in the United Kingdom, you'll be able to share some things that we've been talking about over the last few months, over the last year probably, with those around you. So don't forget to check into our back catalogue of episodes to see what we've been recommending. If you don't want to do that much of a deep dive, then you can just go to Board Game Geek and Steam, where we've got curated pages which collects every video game, every board game that we've spoken about on the show, the episode that we mentioned it. So if you're looking for, a quick recommendation or something, and you're going to be getting together with people for the first time, or you're looking for a new video game to play while you got a bit of time to yourself, then check out one of those pages, or just listen to a random episode of the podcast you've not listened to before. Stayinginpodcast.com has all the details, has all the links. Staying in Pod on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram is our social media pages, where we're always throwing up videos and pictures of what we're up to, links to the show, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Ring the notification bell. I don't know what that means, but people always say it. Anyway, thank you so much for enjoying the show. Please share, take care out there, follow the advice that's around you, and hopefully you'll be able to share something nice with someone that you love or like very, very shortly. Anyway, goodbye from me. Bye-bye.